Time, if everyone would please stand, and we will have Councilman Dorman lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a prayer.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, just help us tonight make good decisions for our community, for now, future.
Roll call.
Dorman.
Here.
Stock.
Here.
Young.
Here.
Meadows.
Here.
Beach.
Here.
Hurt.
Here.
Carter.
Here.
Venable.
Here.
You want to give Beach?
2 people. Okay. Hearing of citizens' comments. At this time, if there's anyone in the audience who would like to make a comment, we ask that you come forward to the microphone, that you sign in, and state your name for the record. And you are limited to 5 minutes. And I will let you know when that 5 minutes is up.
Mayor Thatcher and members of the council, thank you for the opportunity to be here and speak to you tonight. My name is Doug Obley. I'm immediate past president and current board member of the Friends of Historic Boonville, and I'm here to visit with you tonight about an item that's on your agenda under new business concerning street closings and parking restrictions. This has to do with the portions of 6th Street and Chestnut Street and the adjacent parking lots, where there's a proposal to close those, being requested by the Central Missouri Community Action Agency for a sanctioned barbecue event and competition that would be on August the 25th and 26th, Friday and Saturday. And this has been an event that has traditionally been held in June in the past years. There are some concerns about these particular requests that I'd like to address with you, not because of the event, but because of the dates and some other things that the Friends, I think, will be adversely impacted about if it's held as it's suggested. This is not in any way intended to be critical of anybody, any event, any agency. Certainly the community, Central Missouri Community Action Agency is a wonderful agency. It has good leadership. I know most of us in this room have supported it and have supported the event, the barbecue event in the past. Our concerns are with the dates and locations for this event because they have been selected to be on the same weekend as the Missouri River Festival of the Arts. And for those of you who have not attended the festival, this is a classical jazz popular music festival which has provided live concerts in Thespian Hall to the citizens of Boonville, the state of Missouri, and nationally to people who have come to visit us on the same weekend in August for the past 42 years. And we have that at Thespian Hall because Thespian Hall is really a part of the festival. It is, as you know, a very unique performing theater. It's the oldest performing theater west of the Allegheny Mountains that's still in use. And so it has become synonymous with the festival and is certainly something that we've used over the years. The festival not only uses that venue, but Friends have shared it with many other community organizations in town for many, many years. The festival is recognized nationally for its programming, for its world-class performing artists that appear each year to perform in Boonville, and many of them come back when invited because they enjoy so much performing in Thespian Hall. It brings many people to town from around the state and other areas of the country. on a Wednesday through a Saturday to listen to the music at Thespian Hall. And these people spend money in Boonville, and they have for many years, and they support our restaurants, our hotels, and other businesses, and certainly we believe that it's a benefit to the community for the festival to take place and for those folks to come and listen. The specific concerns that I would like to address with respect to the street closings and parking restrictions is that they are all within a block of Thespian Hall, and we believe will adversely impact the parking for the nightly festival performances on Friday and Saturday. As you probably know, if you've attended the festival in the past, parking is sort of at a premium anyway. If you've driven down Main Street during the festival, you'll notice that there are police officers who are there both before and after the festival because the traffic is heavy. There are a lot of people who are crossing the Main Street at that point, and it is kind of a congested area for traffic, even with just the festival going on. We also believe that, particularly with respect to 6th Street, being closed from Spring Street all the way to Vine Street, which is the same street as the south side of Thespian Hall, that will make traffic congested on that particular street because people won't be able to exit that street to the left if it's closed. And that's also the only handicapped accessible entrance and access to Thespian Hall. So people who are coming to the theater who have handicaps, who can't climb the steps in front, are going to be dropped off and picked up at that particular
Time. Your time is up.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I would ask that you consider the fact that this event has gone on for such a long time, and we feel like it would be inappropriate for the festival to suffer any kind of adverse consequence because someone may have missed a date, have the barbecue, and because of the noise that will impact performers and rehearsals at Thespian Hall during those days. Thank you for your consideration. I'd be happy to answer your questions if you have any.
I'd prefer to hold the questions until it's discussed under new business, and then we can, if someone would like to hear the rest of what you have to say or whatever, they can call you out for that. Are there any other public comments to be made at this time?
My name is Steve Litweiler. I was a band director in Boonville for 30 years, and I have performed in Thespian Hall and have attended the festival. The acoustic in Thespian Hall, since it was built in 1857, are miraculous. They're exquisite, and every performer that plays there recognizes that. Unfortunately, the acoustics at Thespian Hall, because it was built in 1857, were not designed to stop the sound from coming outside the building. If you go to the Kaufman in Kansas City, or if you go to a movie theater, they're built to filter out exterior noises. We're going to have noises from crowd noises, generator noises, live band or electronically reproduced music still is going to be loud. It will interfere. It will interfere because there is no filter from a building that was built in 1857. Musicians will rehearse during Friday and Saturday, during the days, and in the evenings the concerts will occur. And they deserve the best venue they can possibly get. And both, Doug was right, both these events are very, very important. They're very important. But I would caution you not to impact one event by scheduling another one right on top of it. I think you lose the musical value. You risk losing the musical value of scheduling something this close. Same day, great, but let's get a little distance just for sound quality. And I appreciate the opportunity to address
Thank you. Be sure and sign the paper there in
Yes,
front
ma'am.
of you, Steve.
What paper?
Did Doug take the paper?
The lawyer took the
I
paper.
know. Duly noted.
Okay.
Is there anyone else who would like to come forward and speak?
Good evening. I'm Gary Martin, a lifetime resident of Boonville. I found out about this today, that there is a situation about a street closing. And I also found out that the matter was, they tried to settle this through private negotiation. And that's what's really surprising me, is that this matter is before the council to settle. It doesn't make good sense that us neighbors can't figure out an amicable solution. Of course, here we've got this event, the one event that's been going for 44 years on the same weekend every year, or 42, whatever the date was. And another event, as important as it is, has also had its place in other locations around the city of Boonville. Of course, the city could accommodate many events on the single weekend. The question is, can they all be in the same location? That is the question. And so it just makes sense to me that, well, it doesn't make sense to me of why this had to come this far. So those are my public comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary. Could you also please, Gary, could you sign the record there so we, with your address, so we can have that for the record? Any further comments from the public?
I'm Melissa Strong. I'm the director for the Friends of Historic Boonville, and I just had a couple comments. One, Gary did just reference a meeting that we did have. We did all try to sit down and discuss this previous to the meeting tonight. And again, not to repeat what has already been said, but we are concerned about the traffic congestion, the parking congestion, and the noise that filters into Thespian Hall for an event that we have had patrons buy tickets years in advance because they know the quality of the show that they have. If we do have some kind of conflict, then that would adversely affect what our patrons have known for 42 years to expect. And I just want to also say that I believe this is in the fourth year of this event, and it has been able to be located at a different venue. I don't know, again, the specifics of what they have to do, but that I think originally was located at the Isle of Capri Casino, so there was different venues that this event could possibly be held at, whereas our festival, there's just no possible, that we see a possible place to move it to for 42 years. I mean, that's, as they alluded to, Thespian Hall is part of this festival. This is where we have to be, so.
Okay. Thank you, Melissa. Any further comments from the public? Okay, seeing and hearing none, we will move along to approval of the minutes of the April 17th, 2017 council meeting. You've had that in your packet over the weekend. Any additions, corrections, questions? Hearing none, they will stand as presented. Consent items, we have none this evening. Presentation of accounts and claims. Teresa, when you're ready.
Ordinance appropriating money. Be it ordained by the Council of the City of Boonville as follows. Section 1, for the purpose of paying salaries and various accounts against the City of Boonville, which have been allowed by the Council at the regular meeting thereof on May 1st, 2017, the sum of $567,562.17. General Fund, $233,735.76. Sanitation, $24,337.53. CIP tax, $23,739.75. Waterworks, $88,812.13. Capital projects, $0.00. Wastewater, $96,839.68. Tourism, $20,135.86. Gaming, $58,472.29. Parks and Water, $21,489.17. Section 2, the accountant is hereby authorized and instructed to draw checks on the respective city bank accounts in favor of the persons whose salaries and accounts have been allowed as above, amounting to $567,562.17, being the total amount of money above appropriated. Section 3, this ordinance shall take effect and be enforced from and after its passage, first reading on May 1st, 2017, read for the second time this first day of May 2017, since a copy was made available prior to the meeting.
Second reading, title only.
Ordinance appropriating money.
Mayor, I make a motion this be approved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Whitney? Thank you. Questions? Roll call.
Dorman. Yes. Stock.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Meadows.
Yes.
Beach.
Yes.
Hurt.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Venable.
Yes.
Unfinished business. We have City Attorney Brad Woolridge, who's going to give us a status update or report.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council. I won't take up too much of your time, but I wanted to follow up with you in regards to the new conflicts of interest policy that was passed on April 3rd, and what I've done as the city attorney to address that policy, as it had greatly impacted what I was able to do in private practice. Again, I won't go too far into the history of this, but I want to kind of bring you to speed so we're all on the same page, and then I can answer any questions that the council may have. On April 3rd, there was a city council meeting, and against my objection, the council voted 6-2 to pass a conflicts of interest policy that prohibited the Boonville City Attorney from acting as defense counsel in any matter in the 18th Judicial Circuit. At that meeting, I pointed out to the council that I was currently defense counsel in 15 cases in the 18th Circuit, and because the proposed ordinance did not have a future effective date, if it was passed, I would be in immediate violation of the new ordinance, and as a result, be in violation of state law. Councilwoman Dorman at that point asked about my concerns, and Councilor Mays advised what steps were to be followed to address and resolve any conflicts of interest. On April 4th, I won the election and was sworn in as the city attorney for a fourth term on April 11th. I was presented with the newfound challenge of how to resolve this conflict of interest. Pursuant to the language in the new ordinance, under the direction and counsel of Ms. Mays, and consistent with the way I've resolved conflicts of interest over the prior 6 years as your city attorney, I moved to appoint a special prosecutor for the city, while I, as expeditiously as possible, resolved 15 defense cases I was currently participating in. I moved the court to appoint my law partner, Wendy Wooldridge, to act as special prosecutor for the city until no conflicts of interest were still present. I chose Ms. Wooldridge for several reasons. One, she could easily become familiar with the case files. Two, the case files were already at my office and could be easily accessible to Ms. Wooldridge. Three, although we're partners, we share the same law office secretary. That secretary was familiar with the case files. She's also the one that answers the phone, whether it's a defendant or a criminal defense attorney that contacts, and she's familiar with the process. Lastly, although the ordinance mandates that a special prosecutor be paid for their services, Ms. Wooldridge had agreed to work at no cost to the city while basically covering my shift until I could resolve this newfound conflict of interest. The court approved my motions, and Ms. Wooldridge covered my April 17th municipal docket without incident. As this has progressed, as city tickets continue to come into our office, because I am the city attorney, I still have to file the city tickets, but simultaneously I also file a motion to appoint a special prosecutor for any other tickets that are currently in until I can resolve the pending defense cases that I'm in. Of the 15 defense cases that I served in as of April 3rd, I have disposed of 5 of them now, and I anticipate or hope to have the other 10 resolved at or near the time of the May municipal docket. One could reasonably ask the question why I didn't remove myself from my criminal defense cases as opposed to moving to appoint a special prosecutor. A criminal defense attorney cannot recuse himself from those cases. The defense attorney requires leave or permission from the court, which could take up to 30 to 60 days, and quite frankly, the court doesn't have to allow criminal defense attorney's withdrawal. A criminal defendant's constitutional rights trump any conflicts that may arise for a defense attorney, which is the case in this matter. And lastly, as I had stated in the beginning, this is what the advice was at the council meeting, that within the city ordinance, there is a provision for what I do when I come across a conflict of interest. Lastly, and it's with disappointment, I feel it is imperative to inform the council that City Councilor Mays has filed an ethics violation against me with the Missouri Ethics Commission. She cites with particularity my violation of the very ordinance that she drafted and my alleged refusal to fulfill my duties as your city attorney, when in fact I am doing exactly what I need to do as your city attorney to ensure that there is not a conflict of interest. So when you break this matter down to its elements, Councilor Mays, on her own initiative on the February 6th council meeting, introduced legislation before the council that would regulate the city attorney's practice. I appeared before the council numerous times to express my concerns about the proposed ordinance. I offered alternative language, both before the council and in emails, and I asked that the matter be tabled until after the election. I appeared again on April 3rd and pointed out that this ordinance did not provide for a future effective date, so that if it were passed, I would be in immediate violation of the law. On April 3rd, Councilor Mays gave instructions on how I was to resolve any conflicts of interest, pursuant to the language in the ordinance that she drafted. I did what Ms. Mays had advised me to do, which is consistent with the ordinance, and I am now under investigation by the Missouri Ethics Commission for doing so. I am open to questions if the council has any, either as how we're trying to resolve the conflict before us between now and the May 15th court date, or as we move forward. The goal in this matter is to resolve an unfortunate situation and move on. Hearing no questions, I'll sit down. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Brad. New business, item A, consider street closure and parking restriction request for Saints Peter and Paul Home and School Field Day event. And you did have that in your packet. Oh, Alan, that's why you're here. Okay, if anybody has any questions, you can talk to Alan. You can ask them of Alan Lammers. We've done this before in the past. This is pretty standard. The only, I was curious why United Church of Christ Educational Building is not contacted. Only Nelson Leonard is contacted.
I don't know that I can explain that, because this was handled by somebody else. I told them I
Okay.
would just come tonight.
Because they
Other
are
than-
in the affected area.
Other than when it's been closed in the past, I don't know that they have been in the actual affected area when the barricade is put out.
Yeah. I don't know that
That's all that I know. I can't
it's
really
not a
answer
deal
that.
breaker, but it just would be nice if they're going to be.
Well, I put this on my calendar next year so that I handle this and not somebody else. So
Okay.
I think it might be
Very good.
that might be a little easier if I handle it directly instead of somebody
Okay.
else.
Morris?
I make a motion this be approved.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Ned? Questions, comments? Roll call. Oh, did somebody have a question?
Yeah.
Oh, Vanessa.
So is there any way that we could just contact the church?
I'm sure they can contact, they're right next door. He'll probably just walk next door and
Yeah,
talk
I'll
to
walk next door there and talk to them.
What if
I
they
don't
say
think it'll
no?
be a big deal.
What if they say no?
Well, I guess we'll figure out a way to compromise and work it out, but I don't think that they will.
You don't think they will? Well, I just want to ask.
Okay, thank you. Roll call.
Dorman,
Yes.
Stock,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Meadows.
Yes.
Beach,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Venable.
Yes.
Okay. Item B, consider street closure and parking restriction request for Central Missouri Community Actions barbecue event. And you did have, I believe, pages 9, 10, 11, and 12 are regarding this event. So, if anyone has any questions, I guess they could ask. Yes. Morris?
The main question I've got is, why cannot or why can't this be moved to a different location?
Okay, that's a fair question, and I am glad you brought it up. And I would like to introduce the council to Misty Larkin. She's our PR manager. She's going to be the quote-unquote organizer for the event, so I did bring her along just for additional information and support. So, I would like the opportunity, if I can, Morris, to address some of the issues that were brought up, and then I can address your issue, Morris, if that's okay with the council moving forward. Or should
Actually, I
just
would
address-
prefer just to have
Sure.
answer questions.
I can do that? Okay, not a problem. A few reasons that we cannot move. Access to electricity is a huge thing. Boonville Holding Company and WJ's have donated and continue to donate a lot of electricity to us, and we have to have easy access to electricity and pretty significant amounts of electricity in order to make sure that these teams have the electricity they need to run the event. Access to refrigeration is a big thing as well, and we have that down there on 6th Street through WJ's. The layout is expansive enough to accommodate all the needs, not only our needs, but the needs of the teams and the judges and the Kansas City Barbecue Society representatives. It's centrally located. I mean, it's an ideal location, just right behind Main Street. Downtown businesses benefit greatly. We've had several of our teams that go up and eat at Maggie's, go down to the boat and gamble or eat down there. So it benefits not only downtown businesses, but other businesses in the community. The permit process is already in the works, and participant judges and KCBS prefer the current site and have approved the current site. Anytime you have an event with the KCBS individuals, you have to pick a site before you can submit an application, and that site has been approved. So, yeah, I mean, those are a few of the big reasons why we would like to have it down on 6th Street.
I know as far as electricity and stuff goes, I mean, Kemper Park, we've provided electricity for bands, carnivals, and quite a few activities.
Sure. One of the things that we are, right now, we're not dependent on the city. Right now, with the Boonville Holding Company, through Brad and WJ's, we're not dependent on the city for donations or support from that matter, and we would like to not be, if at all possible. The city would have to donate a substantial amount of items for us to do this fundraiser on a city property.
So what kind of things would they have to donate?
I mean, power, electricity, refrigeration, picnic tables, tents, I mean, all this type of stuff. All this type of stuff is donated to us, usually free of charge through the Boonville Holding Company, through Brad and WJ's.
Morris?
You just mentioned tents and stuff. Why couldn't they set the tents up at Kemper just as easy as they could set them up on 6th Street?
Well, it's not...
The people that donate some.
Sure. The parking lot directly across from WJ's is compatible right now with the tent that we use every single year. The holes are drilled already. And again, I think the setup is secondary to the cost of a tent like that.
Susan?
In lieu of not moving to another site completely, why couldn't it be shifted to the north?
Give me an idea of what you're talking about.
From, say, WJ's over to Morgan Street, shifted away from Vine Street, Chestnut, and Thespian Hall, so that you have a bit more of a space in between the two events.
One of the issues that we would run into is Spring Street. It has to be accessible throughout Friday for the post office. Right now, with having from Spring Street down 6th Street to Vine closed off, we don't have to worry about affecting their business and getting their trucks in and out of there.
Is there a way you could work around that?
I mean, that's not
During
a
time.
conversation that we've had right now with the post office, but I mean, they have been supportive in the past 2 years that we've had it right there in front of them because it doesn't adversely affect their business right there.
And what about the music?
So there actually will be no music. That was something when we met to discuss how we can kind of compromise a little bit on having it in the same location. That was one of the things that we compromised on. There will be no music, no live band or any sort of music that we or Brad will be providing, loudspeakers or whatever. The only music that may be brought up or any sort of music that might be played from the individual participants' sites.
Morris?
If the council chose not to close Sixth Street, are you saying that, what would happen to the event?
We'd have to reassess. We don't know. Because
I mean,
again,
would you consider moving it to Kemper?
I think at that point, we'd almost have to.
Okay.
Yeah. We'd have to consider other options anyways, so. Yeah.
Vanessa, did you have your hand
No.
up? Okay.
Go ahead, Vanessa.
There's been some concern about generators. Are there a lot of generators going?
Usually we use 3 different generators that produce a little bit of noise, but I don't think anything that's substantial.
And it's your generators, or these people bring them?
We get one from the county, we get 2 from the city.
Okay. I just know that I had an event recently and we used an inverter as opposed to a generator, and it don't make sound at all. I don't know if that's an option to rent or to get, and they're more dependable power source also.
Thank you.
Mike?
Question I had, actually, Vanessa just hit on, but I think what I had looked into on this when we had been talking about, looking into this, that most of the generators that are on these rigs are internal, and they're a quiet version anyway. And that's kind of the only thing that I had. One more.
Yes.
If the council was to not approve this, is there a chance that you could lose yours from the association?
So Kansas City Barbecue Society, yes, we would have to reapply for our sanctioning for the new location. And every time we go through that, they have to take it to their board to approve.
Got it.
So there is a potential, yes, that we could.
Susan?
Just a comment, given that this is an awkward one-time occurrence, it seems to me perhaps you should be flexible in moving for 1 year in order to maintain, we want it here, there's no doubt about that, but for 1 year in order to accommodate an event that's been going on for 40-plus years, would it be unreasonable just to accept that maybe it has to be moved away from 6th Street for 1 year only and just handle it that way?
As far as accommodating, I think, part of the reasoning that we had the meeting that we had was to try to accommodate both events. We nixed out the live music. Parking was also addressed with Boonville Holding Company giving exclusive access to the Friends for parking. That is also an option that's on the table. But as far as, again, moving the event, with all due respect to the Friends and what they do, we are, again, trying to develop a grassroots festival and fundraiser that can benefit greatly CMCA and Boonville. And moving it, I think, damages your reputation a little bit with the KCBS. They are in favor of this site and have been over the past 3 years that we've been in sanction of it. So I don't know if they would be in favor of moving it. I cannot speak for them. Because ultimately it settles in their lap with something like that.
Vanessa?
And I'm just going to say, as a former business owner who, when they moved Heritage Days from downtown to Kemper Park, it was like military police got out there and told everybody to get out of downtown. I didn't make a dime the rest of the day. And part of the reason for having an event is also to bring commerce to your town. And I just feel like that would be lost if they moved. Kemper Park is lovely and it's nice, but that's the end of commerce. They don't drive downtown, they don't eat out, that's my experience as a business owner. And I know how hard it is to get an event in town, get people to come in from out of town, and we have the opportunity to have 2 things in one day. I don't see them
Any other comments?
One
Morris?
more question. Actually, wasn't the filing deadline missed is the reason we got into this conflict?
No, it wasn't actually. So the Kansas City Barbecue Society only allows one competition in every 100-mile radius. They altered that slightly from when we had the competition last year and expanded the radius. There is currently a barbecue competition in Monroe City the same weekend, so the first weekend in June. When it came into the same radius as ours, they have seniority, so that weekend is no longer an option for us. When we looked at the calendar of KCBS sanctioned events that were already done, there were 0 weekends in July, very few weekends in August, and there were a couple openings in September, but there is a Mizzou home game every weekend in September with the exception of the last weekend, which is Roots and Blues and Barbecue. So our choices were very, very limited. So no, the filing application was not missed. We intentionally moved the weekend because we had to if we wanted to be sanctioned.
What would a Mizzou game have to do with?
A lot of the teams that we have traditionally had in the past have come from areas like Columbia, St. Louis, Kansas City, which are traditionally also places that have high attendance for Mizzou home games.
So did you know about the 42 years that
I did not, no. I did not. I attempted to check community calendars to see if there was any conflict, and I did not see any personally. Again, I don't live in Boonville, so it's not something that's necessarily on my radar.
And again, it wasn't, and when we were picking dates, we were hard pressed for a date, Henry. And that was just, again, it was just an unfortunate coincidence that both of the events fell on the same day.
So you're saying you're going to give the Thespian Hall the parking? How do you do that?
The parking lots that we offer them are held through the Boonville Holding Company, and they include, because that was one of the concerns that was brought up in our meeting, was the parking shortage. So to address that and to try to reach some sort of an agreement, there are 4 lots, one located behind the old New Hope Christian Church, which is right there on 6th Street, one located across the church at the corner of Vine and 6th, one located south of the old Geiger gas lot, accessible by the alley immediately behind Thespian, and the old convenience store parking lot immediately north of Thespian. Our 4 different parking areas that we're willing to offer through Boonville Holding Company exclusively to patrons of the festival to park in.
But how do you decide who's going to park there, is what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, ultimately, again, you know, they're owned by the Boonville Holding Company, and then we can work with the Friends on developing signage to make sure that people that are thespian goers know that that is open and accessible to them. And we'll communicate that with our teams and our patrons of our event, that those parking lots are exclusive to the Festival of the Arts.
Steve?
How big a draw do you have that comes into Boonville from outside?
I mean, the majority of the teams that have participated in the past are from outside of Boonville. I think we had maybe 1 team from Boonville in the past 4 years.
200 or 300 people?
I would say between 300 and 400 potentially.
400.
With the majority of those being on Friday, simply because the event is open to the public both days, but Friday is the night where we invite people to come in and have a wing competition. So that's when any public would generally come there, and Saturday is the actual sanctioned barbecue competition. So aside from people who might want to mingle amongst the competitors, it's really just the competitors on Saturday, and that is over by 5 p.m.
And to your point also, Steve, I think you can't also concentrate on where we're at now, but we are still growing. We're still a young fundraiser and festival, and KCBS is a worldwide organization. It has reaches that are unlimited. They do 450 sanctioned events worldwide. Last year, even though they didn't participate, I mean, we got phone calls from Australia, New York City, I mean, all over the country and around the world, of people who saw Boonville name on the schedule and were interested at some point in time. So you also have to keep in mind our potential for growth here as well.
Whitney?
I'm a little confused on the electricity part. You talked about Boonville Holding Company and WJ's donating electricity. Then you talked about having to have generators. And then we talked about that you didn't want the city involvement, but then you get generators from the city and from the county. So why are the
I didn't
generators
say that-
needed?
Right, sorry to interrupt. I didn't
just
say that I
curious.
didn't want the city's involvement. I just said we're not reliant on the city currently. And, you know, if we'd like to keep it that way. I mean, I know the city has a lot of things on their plate currently, and if we can remain independent from the city and function independently from city support, then we'd like to keep it that way.
So are these large diesel generators? I mean, what are you bringing in to supplement? I mean,
Do you remember what
I'm just
type of
curious.
generators they were?
Yeah, I think I can resolve a couple of those questions in a little more detail.
Yeah.
The county has got a really high-quality generator that we purposely parked in front of fire station number 2, because that's where we are limited on some power on the northwest side of 6th Street, because we can't get power from the post office. There's a power drop on the west side of the fire station that's already live, that's ready. There's a power drop on the far west side of that parking lot behind Maggie's. So we have power covered right there, but then the county generator, which is very quiet, I mean, it's a heavy-duty, high-quality, new generator. It services the northwest portion of 6th Street. The other 2 generators that were donated by the city last year, at least one of those may be unnecessary this year. It was the, I call it the light generator. The one that's got the big spotlight on it. That would be the one that would be most subject to causing any noise. What we've done this year, though, is Boonville Holding Company, the old bakery facility, it's got 3,200 amps of power in it, and they're live. We purposely left the power on in that building. And we can produce a lot of electricity out of that building and out of the old cinder block building that used to be at the rear of Geiger Gas, all live power that wasn't accessible to us and accessible to participants last year. So I can't say we don't necessarily need or couldn't use the extra power, but if it's an issue of noise, we can eliminate the one that created the most simply with having plugins.
Well, and that's what I was trying to get at, you know, the
Yeah.
diesel generators.
Yeah,
Just the hum.
there was absolutely no intent to run what I call the 1980s old school generator. I mean, the generators now are quiet, and then we can discourage any excessive noise, but the fact that we've got Heatlow, Farm Supply, and Tiger Feed will allow us to use power there, as we've got additional power that wasn't accessible. And just one thing, and I'll get out of you here. Councilwoman Meadows, in response to your question, if the council chooses for whatever reason not to pass the street and parking restrictions tonight, before we look at having to go back to the drawing board and go all the way back to KCBS, at least we'd like to look at entertaining moving north on 6th Street. It causes a logistical issue with us with Spring Street, and the fact that you've got federal property right there that has to stay open. We would prefer to stay in a location because we already have it platted out where teams can go. But I would hate to see this be dead in the water, so to speak, because it didn't work where it's at. The goal with visiting with these 2 was to start on the north end of 6th Street, right there at 6th and Spring, as teams file and register, and not move any further past Chestnut or towards Vine unless it's absolutely necessary, because we have that many teams that sign up. So the goal is to stay as far away from Thespian Hall as possible across the board. So we want to see good turnout with teams, but we also are going to do our best to stay on the north end of the proposed restricted area.
So if it was similar in size of last year, they would fit on that end?
Pretty much. There'd be a couple in front of Zelo,
Yeah.
and then right there on 6th Street, on the west side of 6th Street, south of Chestnut, there'd be a few right there, but we didn't make it all the way up to what I call the gravel parking lot on the south side of what used to be the Geiger lot. We didn't even get that far up. Assuming we don't get that far this year, and Councilwoman Hudson, your question, how are we going to regulate parking for the Friends? I was going to put up cattle panels and exclusive parking for Friends of Historic Boonville and Festival of the Arts patrons. Assuming we don't get that far down on 6th Street to need to go all the way to Vine, there would be ingress and egress on both sides between 6th Street and rear 6th, where people could park off of that alley. The alley, I call rear main or rear 6th, and behind the bakery, that's a fire lane, and it's an emergency route. So we're not even trying to go past that at all. So Chestnut from Main to that alley and Vine all the way down would remain open at all times. Thank you.
Sorry for any confusion that I may have added.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I do want to say something. I would be glad to offer my name as mayor to go to the Kansas City barbecue competition. I can't imagine that if you went to them and explained the situation to them, that they would not try to help you out. I would hate to think we're making our judgment based on, oh, well, we don't know, we're not sure about this, and we're scared to death we'll lose this. I would be glad to help you out, to try and explain to them what happened. And I can't imagine that they would object to you moving it, 3 blocks to Kemper.
No, and I do appreciate that offer, but I just can't speak for them because it's never
I
come up
understand
before,
that,
so
but I think it might, we don't normally have this many people show up for a meeting.
I'm glad we can still draw a crowd, so.
We never have anybody show up to object to a street closing. I can tell you, we never have anybody. So this is something that we need to consider very carefully. And I just think I don't want to hurt you guys, but I don't want to hurt the Missouri River Festival either. Morris, did you have another comment?
I was just gonna make a comment, why don't we table this tonight and give them an opportunity to go to them and see if they would eject it?
Are you willing? I would go to Kansas. Where is the place? Kansas City?
I believe it's in Kansas City. I've never actually been there. And
I'm going to be there tomorrow. I would be glad to stop by and see them.
I think that our issue is, yes, we are concerned about losing the sanctioning. I think a higher concern for us is loss of low-cost to no-cost resources that make this a actual fundraiser for us. That I think is of higher concern. Electricity, things like that we are not having to rent as a nonprofit that would essentially lose the entire fundraiser aspect for us. So moving the location, while we could petition Kansas City, we could absolutely ask Kansas City Barbecue Society. I am less concerned about losing the sanctioning and more concerned about not being able to have the fundraiser in the future here in Boonville, because it's not something that raises funds for our agency and our fight on poverty. That's honestly more of my concern, is the loss of those resources that make it a fundraiser for us, allow us to have the event here.
Well, I think the Friends can be sympathetic to that because they lost a major fundraiser this year too and had to compensate for that in many ways that they would rather have not do. So I think they can sympathize with that greatly, but you have to just move on and do what you can do.
I was gonna say, I think the city will work with you any way you can to make it still a profitable fundraiser for you.
I would be in favor also of what Morris said, giving them some more time. It seems like the compromises have been met. There's no music. There's no, the generators are going to be quieter, and I don't feel like we're very far away from a compromise, so why? It might be premature for us to decide the street closures right now.
It's up to you folks.
I'll make a motion that we table it and give them an opportunity to move it
And when do you want to table it to the next
till the
meeting?
next meeting.
Susan?
Did you say and move it? Or
No, give them the opportunity to see. if
to
they-
look into
to look into
other
moving it.
options?
Yes.
Or because I would be in favor of tabling as well, but I wanted them to be able to look at all possible options,
Right.
not just move it
Right.
somewhere.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. all
Okay, I
options.
just wanted to be sure
I'm
I was
sorry.
clear.
I'll move to, we table it to look for them, give them the opportunity to look at all other options that might, the city might be able to help them to make a profitable thing, but in a different location.
Got that?
Whoa, wait a minute. Just
Well,
instead
they're
of,
talking about moving it north on
All right.
6th Street.
all right, just looking into options.
Okay, look into options.
And Susan seconded it.
Yes, I will second that. Whatever.
And I would hope that you could work with the Friends on this and keep lines of communication open with them and try to work with them and make it a decision that everyone can live with comfortably. Any further questions? Roll call.
Dorman,
Yes.
Stock,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Beach,
No.
Hurt,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Biddable.
Yes.
Thank you all for your time.
And let me know what and when I can do something to help you out. Okay. Item C. And by the way, everyone that came to hear about that is welcome to leave. Because I know you all. That's what happens every time as everybody leaves. Item C, consider Resolution R 2017-04 approving an agreement with Vance Brothers Incorporated for asphalt pavement seals 2017.
A resolution of the City of Boonville, Missouri authorizing and approving an agreement between Vance Brothers Incorporated and the City of Boonville, Missouri pertaining to asphalt pavement seals 2017 and providing an effective date therefore. Whereas the City of Boonville has solicited and received bids for this project and determined that Vance Brothers Incorporated represents the best bid pursuant to the purchasing code set forth in Section 2-20 of the City of Boonville Code of Ordinances. Therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Boonville, Missouri as follows. Section 1, that a certain agreement between Vance Brothers Incorporated and the City of Boonville, Missouri relating to the asphalt pavement seals 2017, a copy of which is marked Exhibit A, is attached hereto and made a part hereof, is hereby approved. Section 2, that the city administrator and the city clerk are hereby authorized to execute and attest said agreement on behalf of the City of Boonville. Section 3, this resolution shall take effect and be in full force from and after its passage and approval past this first day of May 2017 by the City Council of Boonville, Missouri.
Mayor, make a motion this be approved.
We hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Questions, comments? Looks like we just got one bid. So, roll call.
Dorman,
Yes.
Stock,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Beach,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Venable.
Yes.
Reports of standing committees, Parks and Recreation Board. Steve?
The meeting was canceled.
Public Works, Morris?
Meeting was canceled.
Okay, Street and Alley, Susan?
No agenda items, so the meeting was canceled.
Okay. IDA, Steve?
We did have a meeting, and the meetings are in your packages. If there's any questions,
Okay.
I'll try to answer.
Okay. Reports of city officials, City Administrator, Earl?
Yes, I have an item on the agenda that I included a fairly detailed memo in your packet in terms of the procurement process for a second and third phase of our soccer project at the in the neighborhood of the high school. This has proven to be somewhat different subject than we normally encounter. I guess to put very succinctly, this is a fledgling industry of which standards, rather than being objective and generally agreed to with large degree of consensus, it's we find that distinctly lacking, and indeed, at times people have total opposite opinions of what's best and what's right. So I'm going to utilize what the code calls a competitive purchasing option, and rather than just outright bids, and then we'll entertain what everybody has to say, and we'll make it fully open and take all comers, and then as a part of that particular method, we are able to sort of make our own judgments rather than being adhering to some standard that frankly doesn't exist in this world. And so I'd just like to put that on the record and have you acknowledge that it's there. I believe it's explicitly set forth in our code in terms of a purchasing method, but we don't run into it very often. That's why I wanted to draw your attention to it. Particularly, this is a larger project, but I think it's distinctly appropriate in this particular setting.
If I could, I'd just like to make one comment about this. As I read through this,
I would write down my questions. And I had half a dozen of my little green stickers on there. And as I got to the last few pages, my little green stickers just went back in because they all got answered. This was an amazing approach.
Yes.
I thank you, and you had mentioned Kate in here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kate. This is, wow.
This is a big project.
Yeah. Good work.
So have you guys been out to visit any of these fields?
We've taken a couple of visits early on, and as we get sort of a better vision of where our, I guess maybe our likely choice is, we will take some visits there.
I've seen it because
Yeah, go ahead.
it's soccer season, and so I'm out there twice a week or so, but it's moving along.
Oh, the fields. Good.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if you ought to just go visit some that have been out there for 10, 15 years, see what they're like.
They have done that.
15 may be stretching the existing inventory, but we have done that. I think too often the purchasing method a lot of people do is they go visit a couple places and walk on it and say, we like the way this one feels and that's what we want.
Right.
We found that there's a lot more variables than that involved.
So what is the average wear? Are you looking at 10 years?
There's a pretty much universal warranty of 8 years.
Yeah.
And usually you can milk it a little longer. There's a couple of options, you can get 10, but I wouldn't count on much more than 12. So there's a replacement cycle that's going to be a distinct challenge, so.
Might be able to rotate them later.
Well, had we started in a segmented fashion, you might
Right.
be able to, but I'm
Some
not
will
sure
be
that's going to
more-
work for a
yeah.
while, so.
Any other questions for Earl? Well, I would ask for a motion to affirm this, and I'm going to borrow a word from Earl.
So moved.
Methodology. I try to pick up, he uses big words, so I try to learn from this. We need to affirm this. Is that the correct use of methodology? Sort of, not really. So Ned moved.
Yep.
Second?
Okay.
Further discussion? This is just a formality. Roll call.
Dorman,
Yes.
Stock,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Meadows. Yes. Beach.
Yes.
Hurt.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Venable.
Yes.
Mayor, I did put at your place a sheet with some more committee appointments, so I would like to have those approved tonight, and with that, then we'll only have 2 openings we have to fill. And Teresa will start working on the booklet.
I make
Morris?
a motion to be approved.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Thank you, Susan. Questions, comments? Roll call.
Dorman,
Yes.
Stock,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Meadows.
Yes.
Beach.
Yes.
Hurt.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Venable.
Yes.
City Councilor?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to clarify on the conflict of interest ordinance with respect to city attorneys. Mr. Woldridge has taken his own counsel on this matter. I would never recommend that a city attorney recuse himself from his official duties as the city prosecutor by dumping every single case that the city has referred to him for prosecution. That's ridiculous. I would not have done it. It didn't happen in this case. I don't provide legal counsel for Mr. Woldridge. He didn't seek my counsel. So I just wanted to make it clear that any interchange between Ms. Dorman and I on the application of the conflicts policy was just to talk about if a conflict existed with respect to what is prohibited, which is representing of criminal defendants in this district, in this 18th Judicial Circuit. So just wanted to make that point of clarification. The wholesale dumping of all the municipal cases is to take that conflicts policy and stand it on its head. The conflicts are the representation of the criminal defendants, not the representation of the city in the municipal cases. So just just to put that out there as a point of clarification. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. City Clerk, Teresa?
I have nothing this evening.
Okay, Economic Developer, even though he's not on the list, he's here with a report and a packet. So.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Just a couple things from our activity the last month. The IDA is working on several larger issues, or issues of a larger scope that are tangential to economic development. And that is we're trying to get a better understanding of the city's broadband needs and issues that we can help to inform you with. And we've also been doing some benchmarking against Columbia specifically on livability issues. So we're trying to understand those things again with an eye towards educating you at some point about what we found. That said, under Section 2 there, we did have some projects that we worked over the last month. Project ROTAG, you see there we did not have a site that qualified, but Project T we did, and we submitted that. That's for the spec building out on Mid-America Industrial Center is where the spec building is. Other than that, we've had several things going on that you can see listed there, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. But it's been relatively slow on the project generation, and I think as I talk to people across the state, it's somewhat been the case for everyone.
Just had a quick question of Energy America. They haven't seen a whole lot of activities around the building there. Are we still active and still working hard?
Still active, still working hard. Pretty significant good things have happened to the company with regards to being approved by poultry integrators over the past month. So Cargill specifically has come to terms with Energy Americas to not only affirm the support, but also aid growers in buying. And there's also, we believe, some good news coming from USDA regarding the approval of the product for use in poultry. So, no, it's the entrepreneur is very happy with how things are going.
Good.
And the company does have a new CEO. Gary McKinney is the gentleman's name. He is a entrepreneur out of Ashland, Missouri, that was the one that made a rather large business out of, I think it was Home Video Showcase, something. Anyway, there was he's been on the ride of taking a microscopic company to very large, and he is now the CEO of Heartland Farm Energy.
Cool. Good.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Miscellaneous? Anyone have any miscellaneous? Morris?
Bobby, we need to commend the police department and how they handle that robbery.
Appreciate it. I was on vacation. So.
Well,
you did a great job.
Maybe that's the reason they did a great job. No, I mean, I think we need to let the public know that our police department is on the ball, and it's not too many times they get a chance to solve a robbery real quick.
It's not too often I get a call that they got the crime solved ahead of time. That's I call and see you later. They really did do a great job. They did. All the
Just tell them that we think they did a great job.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
And I had a lot of citizens' comments in reference to that, saying they did a great job.
Do a good job.
I guess they do better without me.
Right. We always do better without either.
Any other comments? If not, I would move or entertain a motion to adjourn. Second? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.